True AI is really the ability to simulate human intelligence. And so there are certain elements of it when put together as far as machine vision, natural language processing and speech recognition, you're essentially getting a machine to behave or simulate that of a human being.
You're listening to the Drone Radio Show podcast, the show about drones and the people who use them for business, fun, and research. Hosted by Randy Goers.
Hello, everyone. This is Randy Goers, and welcome to the Drone Radio Show podcast, episode 350. What does real-time autonomous UAS operations look like? Today's guest knows exactly. Barry Alexander is founder and CEO of Aquiline Drones, a drone manufacturing and full-service UAS company based in Hartford, Connecticut. Aquiline offers full-service UAV solutions with equipment, personnel, and cloud infrastructure for a multitude of use cases. They have redefined the entire unmanned aerial vehicle landscape by developing a unified real-time cloud with autonomous flight capabilities, edge computing, and AI-enabled data insights. This includes drone manufacturing, air carrier service, autonomous UAS services, insurance, training, and UAS cloud computing services. Driven by the Aquiline Cloud, a dedicated hybrid cloud services platform, their solutions provide increased applicability across industries and environments. Barry brings over 25 years' experience as an aviator and licensed aircraft technician for both airplanes and helicopters. He has spent most of his career working as an airline captain for various airlines, with over 22,000 hours of logged flight time, with his last assignment flying Boeing 747 aircraft globally, mainly in support of U.S. military operations. Barry possesses key expertise in several areas of flight operations and management, working as a flight instructor, chief pilot, director of operations, and has led other successful and non-aviation ventures in the areas of health information systems, electronic payment systems, and digital media. In this edition of the Drone Radio Show, Barry talks about Aquiline Drones, its full-service drone stack solution, and their efforts to achieve true autonomy. But before we hear from Barry, I want to thank those of you who are supporting my funding campaign. Whether it's $1, $100, or much more, you can help defray the cost of production and keep the podcast going and growing. Go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And by the way, if you have a great story on the use of drones that you'd like to share in a podcast, contact me at randy@droneradioshow.com. So let's learn about true autonomy with Barry Alexander of Aquiline Drones. Let's pick up the interview where I asked Barry to introduce himself.
My name is Barry Alexander. I'm the founder and CEO of Aquiline Drones. Aquiline Drones being a very progressive drone tech and cloud solutions company. And I attend to the day-to-day operations and vision of Aquiline Drones.
Barry, how old is Aquiline Drones?
Aquiline Drones is just over 3 years since its registry, but a solid 4 years of incubation prior to formal registry. So about 7 years total it's been around.
What does the company do?
Aquiline Drones has successfully built a drone technology ecosystem within which you have about 7 lines of interrelated businesses related to drones and drone technology. From training, which we provide an end-to-end training platform for commercial drone operations. We have our own insurance captive, which allows us to basically underwrite our own insurance and also secondarily provide commercial drone insurance to the wider industry. We also manufacture drones, made in America drones right here in Hartford, Connecticut. commercial grade drones for multiple use cases. We also designed and built an aviation-centric cloud, which is chiefly responsible for supporting autonomous drone operations, both domestically and internationally. So imagine, the ability to deploy, a cloud clone of our AD cloud to a customer's environment, like the military, having that cloud clone deployed to a military's battlefront to support military drone operations. We also have AD Airlines, which is an air carrier certificate akin to your regular airlines out there. We built our own airline infrastructure, complete with mission planning functions, technical publications, dispatch, flight following, crew scheduling, crew planning, safety management system, and also drug and alcohol program. So, ordinarily, there's only about 4 companies in the country, UPS, Google, Amazon, and now Aquiline, with that in-house capability and capacity as a certified air carrier to have that and to operate it.
How is the air carrier designation used?
To leverage the infrastructure of an airline to also support commercial drone operations. And the dichotomy of drone operations, as the world understands it, to where it started to become, problematic in the national airspace system was such that, the FAA recognized the need to have drones operate, within the same environment and in unison and harmony with regular manned aircraft. So that certificate allows us to operate both manned and unmanned aircraft through what's called the operation specifications of that certificate.
Does it provide any regulatory benefits?
Absolutely. I mean, there are certain things that are done through waivers with the FAA, and there are certain services that have been provided in the past, whether it be moving passengers, whether it be moving human tissues, organs, and blood, aeromedical transport environment, that we have already started off moving those things until such time as the FAA provides the regulatory environment to use drones. We will be totally set up, which we are already set up to use drones in conjunction with manned aircraft to provide those services more efficiently and cost effectively. And so having that 135 air carrier certificate and being able to provide a service that was normally or is still being done by manned aircraft that will eventually transition to, a more cost economical model. Just think how, archaic it is to have a driver drive across town to deliver a pizza just to collect $12. I mean, the carbon footprint of that service is cut in a tiny fraction by using or implementing drones.
And you also provide training. Can you talk about that as well?
So here we are using drones to now save lives. And obviously, we're not appealing to the public or to the authorities to use drones to move dog food in a commercial environment. We talk about using drones to save lives. Here we are in the U.S. today, where the discard rate is about 20% of human tissue and organs, which can be shaved down dramatically. There is a surplus of human tissues and organs, but because of the lack of transportation infrastructure, cost-effective transportation infrastructure, those organs go unused and people die as a result. So the broad appeal is for society to support such proprietary proposals that aim to save lives using drone and cloud technology. That's why we're here. That's who we are. That's our appeal to the public.
The company delivers a broad range of services, and it has to be a challenge managing everything.
It's an ecosystem, and what is worthy of note and what's some of the key differentiator between Aquiline and many other somewhat drone tech companies is that all our core dependencies are in-house. And so we are not reliant on anyone for external services that are necessary or crucial to supporting any key drone line of business.
How does Aquiline differ from other drone service providers?
If a drone service provider is providing a service, that service proposal is written around the limitation of the hardware and software that that individual or company uses. And so our approach is 180 degree different from that, in that we provide a solution very specific to the customer's desires. And so being able to make a modular and scalable solution for industry at the unit or business level or enterprise level is one, again, that differentiates us from the rest of the industry.
What industries do you serve?
Just about every industry out there. There's oil and gas, there is energy and utilities, there is agriculture, there's your typical enterprise asset management that covers your typical asset inspections, bridges, tunnels, heavy infrastructure. There's your search and rescue environments. There's also law enforcement, which fall under first responders. A plethora of industries and use cases that our drones are designed to operate within.
Why would someone choose Aquiline Drones over another service provider?
Yes, because we're an end-to-end solutions provider. And so we're not reliant on any other service provider or provider of goods within that space to provide a solution. We provide end-to-end solutions. Even with the insurance, for example, we know that commercial liability insurance is required for the provision of drone services. And to be able to provide customers with that from the onset as an option, not just from the drone service provider standpoint, but to provide, nuanced risk insurance to the customer that's having a service performed, that's a key capability that you would ordinarily not find with a drone company.
How does AI and autonomy fit into your operations?
We acquired Illumine Labs early last year to principally support our digital agent called Spartacus. When we talk about AI, there is usually inadequate treatment to understanding of AI, but in general, AI systems work by ingesting large amounts of data and then analyzing that data into correlations and patterns that are later used to provide prescriptive models. And so here we have a drone that is said to have, cognitive capabilities by first trying to understand what it's looking at, and then providing, prescriptive recommendations based on, those protocols that it's matching that against and helping you to make a decision in that regard. And so us having, that AI capability in-house where we can design models that benefit different industries like agriculture, where you could use AI to analyze fruits based on, analyzing the density of the fruit and being able to determine the degree of ripeness as far as when the fruit should be harvested. All those are core competencies or capabilities that set us apart and makes, a difference. As it relates to autonomy, we have delved into full autonomous operations, and that's essentially your hands-free drone operations where the drones have the ability to sense and avoid things in a dynamic environment. And that's the direction the industry is headed.
In a recent article about the deep learning capabilities that Illumine AI brings to Aquiline, I came across the term true AI. What does that mean?
True AI is really the ability to simulate intelligence. And that intelligence is usually modeled around, human intelligence. And so there are certain elements of it when put together as far as, machine vision, natural language processing and speech recognition, you're essentially getting, a machine to behave or simulate that of a human being. And so the more data it crunches, whether it be historical or current data, the smarter it becomes. It improves its cognitive capability. And so our smart machines or smart drones, in the context of Internet of Things, when we talk about the Internet of Things, again, we're talking tangible things, devices with embedded technologies operated within a networked environment. So you're talking about your typical drone operations environment where you have connected drones or drones with embedded software that essentially work together. So you have your airborne drones, you could have land-based drones like robotic spiders or spherical robots that are paired together, working toward providing a solution like forest fire fighting or mitigation, where the airborne drone could sense the rapid rise in temperature. It could communicate that to a spherical robot that rolls over to the scene to investigate and then, subsequently detonates fire retardant once it ascertains that it's truly a kindling to prevent that from spreading. So getting all those embedded devices to work together in a computer network environment is our concept of AI against the backdrop of IoT.
Sounds exciting, but also challenging trying to link the various devices.
Your typical drone service provider or manufacturer of devices would typically concentrate on one device, like an airborne drone, and not a robotic spider or, tree-mounted sensors or spherical robots. And so being able to make all of them that have embedded technologies that allow for edge computing and to be paired to each other and to communicate an intent. We have been successful at, putting together those end and connected devices such that they work in unison and they work as a team, whether flying as a drone swarm or working on the ground, as a team of spherical robots.
How do all the devices coordinate? Are they given specific tasks and the ability to communicate with each other?
That's correct, but they also have individual cognitive capacities. And so if one drone is flying in swarm formation, it encounters a problem. Say, for example, a bird shows up in front of the drone, having that sense and avoid capability to dynamically navigate around, over, or under that bird or object is where the true AI, kicks in and then realign itself to join the swarm and perform its duties in a shared fashion with the rest of the drones. That's the true benefit and beauty of AI applications with drones and associated technology.
Is this similar to what is termed mesh technology?
This really speaks to Industry 4.0 that almost faded in the background. It somewhat celebrates the confluence of different, advanced technologies. And so in an IoT environment where you have very advanced technologies being meshed together, that truly defines Industry 4.0 for what we know it to be.
In building the company over the past several years, what have you learned about autonomy and connected environments?
It's extremely challenging, of course. We've seen companies were supposed to provide key aspects or elements of that environment as far as connectivity, for example. There was a promise of end-to-end 5G infrastructures. We're finding out today that those are non-existent. We're also looking at companies like Amazon. And when we talk about Amazon within the ambit of drones, Amazon's core competency is e-commerce. And they're wanting to use drones to solve their last mile delivery challenges. I mean, imagine an Amazon truck showing up at your house to drop off a carton of toothpaste. That's quite wasteful. Then wanting to use drones within that last mile environment. What will make that possible is total or true autonomy or autonomous drone operations to allow for drones to dynamically leave, a sorting facility and operate within a grid environment with see and avoid capabilities or technologies that allows the drones to go within that last mile, the shortest distance possible or traveled, to drop off goods to customers. Total autonomy is very beneficial in that regard. In fact, it's necessary. And that's where, for the industry to quantum leap into its next era, total autonomy is an absolute.
Why did you start Aquiline Drones?
Drones are aircraft, and they operate within a dynamic airspace environment regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration. It's an industry I am extremely familiar with, exceeding 35 years of being entrenched in aviation, very, very passionate about it from very early on. Working as a pilot, flight instructor, flying commercial helicopters commercially, to becoming an aircraft technician, working on the operational side of things, chief pilot, director of operations for different operations as a captain for different airlines, to my last assignment of flying 747s around the world in support of U.S. military operations through the Air Mobility Command and supporting other commercial operations like Amazon and DHL, Palampina around the world. That gave me an opportunity to somewhat vet the industry on a global scale. So every country that has some historical drone environment, from manufacturing to operations to just plain technology, I was able to see that firsthand before deciding on what requisite resources were required if we were to put together an operation that would make us somewhat of a forceful market entrant. And so that was the impetus, wanting to traverse that space, but leave the hands-on aviation environment to the drone space, which we knew going into it, being subject matter experts, it would make a difference in how the industry was shaped in the U.S. And here we are today, one of the fastest growing drone companies in the U.S., having the core expertise that will ultimately set us apart.
Earlier, you mentioned something about being in an incubator. Was that part of an accelerator program?
It wasn't a formal incubator. I said we spent 4 years in incubation, identifying and amassing the requisite resources, including personnel. So bringing together, the best and strongest minds, both from military environments to the civilian world. So here we are with, retired military, generals on our team, a lot of veteran aviators, nuclear physicists, algorithmic mathematicians, cloud architects, savvy business people, understanding that we wanted to build a superlative but sustainable platform. Drone tech and cloud solutions platform required that level of, SMEs. And so we knew that going into it. That was done over a 4-year period until we decided to formally launch Aquiline with all its interrelated services that now form this unique drone and cloud technology ecosystem.
What's next for Aquiline Drones?
Services, essentially. Provider of services, whether it be as drone service providers, providing cloud computing as a service, being able to write aviation manuals on behalf of prospective, airline operators, selling everything as a service. We sell services to law enforcement. We sell services to firefighters, municipalities through, Department of Public Works, emergency management services. So essentially, we're morphing more and more into a service-oriented environment or company that has successfully incubated and built, superlative, business platforms to now use them to provide superlative business services.
Is there anything that we missed that we should talk about?
I mean, drones are here to stay. Here we have, drones that were obviously misperceived by the general public. We know that drones provide a huge benefit to society, in so much that we're creating a marketplace where drone service is becoming somewhat of a move from artful form to now becoming a profession. And so having people, delve into that new profession through training, we provide that training. We provide training to first responders nationwide. So that service is free to first responders nationwide.
And for my final question, Barry, what message would you like to leave regarding the future of the drone industry?
Drones are here to stay, and our job is to ensure that we provide safe and responsible information to the public. And so being thought leaders in that regard is a huge responsibility. We want the public to know that drones are safe. They are here to stay. And it's a matter of time before drones become as commonplace as the everyday use of cars. But they are safe. And we ask the public to just be mindful of the fact that there are companies like us that spend or devote a lot of attention to ensuring safety of the public, and we are here to be part of that movement.
That's it for episode 350 of the Drone Radio Show. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Barry Alexander of Aquiline Drones. I want to thank Barry for taking the time to speak with me. If you want to learn more about Aquiline Drones or want to connect with Barry, check out the website at aquilinedrones.com. If you like the Drone Radio Show, please consider supporting the podcast with a small donation. The content is always free, but for as little as $1, you can help defray the cost of production. To donate, go to droneradioshow.com/donate. And thanks for listening. Your support means a lot to me, and I hope you'll listen to more episodes of the Drone Radio Show podcast to hear how others are using drones for business, fun, and research. For the Drone Radio Show, I'm Randy Goers.
This has been the Drone Radio Show podcast. More information on today's show can be found on our website at www.droneradioshow.com. If you're using drone technology for business, fun, or research and would like to share your experience on the show, please visit our website and fill out a guest appearance application. And don't forget to follow us on your favorite social media channels.